What's up, family? Supreme light, peace, blessings, and harmony. I am Imhotep the Great, and welcome to an episode of Fundamental Vibes with Imhotep the Great. Again, I am Imhotep the Great, and welcome to our first episode of Fundamental Vibes. Over here at Fundamental Vibes, what we we dive into books, and it might not always be books, but we dive into tangible information, whether that's a book, an article, watching a video. We just lay the foundation, and we having a good vibe doing it. So fundamental vibes, we laying the foundation and having good vibes while we laying the foundation. And we're with the foundation that we land in, the foundation of history, and that's a very important foundation to be able to land in. So sometimes it may be actual history we're getting into. Sometimes it may be things that's going on in the world when we're trying to get into a point. But it's all about basically learning and understanding, but having the evidence or the tangible research or whatever we got at the time that we may be able to, so I can present to the people and see how, and we go from there and we build on top of that. Cause my belief is the only way our people are going to be able to put ourselves in a better position on earth and reinstate our glory and reinstate our power and reinstate our light of who we is by touching bases into history and knowing who you is. A person without knowledge of their history is like a tree without roots. I don't know who said that quote, but I heard that quote many times. Malcolm might said it though, or he said something similar to that, but I done heard that many times in the world. So, but that's a true statement. So, us as a people, we've been through a lot. We've been going through a lot. It's a lot going on in the world right now. I want to thank everybody who watched my live yesterday. I want to thank everybody who have supported me over the years. A lot of people who this episode been on my mind so much to do, but I think a lot of people hit me up like, hey, you need to go ahead and start back getting out there the information. So I said I'm gonna go ahead and start back really doing what I want to do, doing what I love to do, and doing I feel like what my purpose is because God sent me on a purpose to get understanding, and I feel like that's my purpose, to be able to help bring this together. Liberation, I ask God all the time, or ask the higher self, the universe, what is it? But it's liberation and teaching and a lot of different things. I'm blessed, so I'm thankful for that. But I just want to thank y'all. That's the point. I want to thank people who've been supporting me, everybody for their kind words and messages. I just want to say thankful, and we're going to get to it, and we're going to lay down this foundation. Again, there's so much going on in society right now. They're bringing in a new society. They're bringing in a new social system. They're bringing in a digital currency. It looks like food shortages is going on. Inflation is going on. Gas is high. Rent is high. It's the breakdown of a society. But for us as Black people or Black America, we've been in societal breakdown. We've been in societal breakdown since 1492. And we're still living in societal breakdown. A lot of times when you hear Black people say, well, we just need to get our own stuff. Where's our own schools? Where's our own stuff? That's right. But what they're saying is, where's our society? Because our society has been broke down and history been rewrote. It's been told to us in a different way. So Fundamental Vibes is here to build the foundation. So when we do build and we get the rebuilding and we get the things that we are owed to us, we're rebuilding on a foundation of truth. True history. Not the Black man history, not the white man history, but the earth history. The earth is here and the earth will be here. Once we pass on, the earth still will be here until the creator sees otherwise. So earth history, what happened, what has happened on earth. That's what we want to know and we want to tap into, because from that we can see the true situation we are in. And we are in a real situation, but that's because we powerful. People don't we couldn't survive this. What has been happening for 500? We've been in a 530-year Holocaust, people. 530 years since 1492, and Christopher Columbus and them came up to these shores. And our ancestors fought. In our generation, we didn't think that. I don't know. We just are everybody for self. So that's the thing about it. But we got to do better, and we got to start enlightening our minds so we can get the things that we need, and we can get the process of healing and get the process of changing our reality. So because we're gonna have to, either we can do it by choice or we can do it by force and then chaos. We're gonna have to do it because the people who rule the world, these rich European imperialists, these people have plans. They're making plans for you. They make plans for everybody. Everybody on the lower class system, because the society is built off class and race system. So even white people, they're slaves by class. Racism, that's just a different thing. Even under the cut, they put you on the bottom of the class system when they embed racism. And that, or as y'all be on this channel and we go further into it, we understand why they do that, because of European imperialism. Imperialism being a nation leaving out their nation, which is Europe, and going to take over another continent, which is America, and Africa as well. So European imperialism, and Australia. Let's not forget about our brothers and sisters in Australia. Shout out to Australia. It is Negroes in Australia. So yeah, and Asia too. Wherever you find them, it's imperialism in some sort of imperialism. But the Europeans have took imperialism to another level of and when I say European, I'm not talking about all the European people. The European people are protesting in all the countries of Europe right now. They've been protesting since the pandemic about society and some shit the American people is still just not catching on to. Like, they are building a new society, and they're bringing in a new system, whether you want it or not. And they'll bankrupt everybody in it, because while they're doing it, they don't care. It's a sacrifice to them. They want control. And they're bringing in digital currency. And in a digital currency, they can track everything that you do. That's just the facts of having a digital currency. A social credit class system. All these things is real. There's one world government, new world order. Whether people want to believe it or not, this is the reality of it. And as you see the moves that they're making, you'll keep seeing it. So it's important for our people to be educated and understand these things, so we can protect ourselves and we'll lose as less people as possible. And that's the reality of it. It's turbulent times right now, and that's the reality of it. So God, the Most High Creator, however you go to get to that Creator, whatever you call that Creator, is a Creator. Is man the one attached the name to Creator? Man attached the name to the Creator, but it's a Creator. It's a Creator. And the Creator got us protected, because Creator know Earth history. The Creator created the Earth. Creator know Earth history. Creator know who's lying and who's not. The Creator know who's American and who's not. And then when I say who's the indigenous American, because now there's many Americans here, but the indigenous American Negro, who we call black today, we deserve what we owe, because that's demonic. It's demonic to conquer and enslave somebody, then tell them they're from Africa. I think that's the most demonic thing, and teach it in school, K through 12 education, and hide it from them. Hide all the mounds and the pyramids. When you get tourism off everything on Earth, but when it comes to the American mounds and pyramids, you don't get tourism off that. Why you don't get tourism off the American mounds and pyramids? Because they don't want you to relate to it, that it's yours. Skating on the thin ice, just like the Hebrew. We the real Hebrew people. But we gonna get into all that, because I'll talk so long. This is just the intro. We had a whole light packed show today. light, not it's heavy, but when I say light, it's full of light and understanding. So we can get understanding. We're going to dive into these two books, 103 Facts of the Black Indian and also Allegory of the Continents. Them the two books we diving into today. You get a 2-for-1 special today. Let's give a round of applause. And we're going to dive into that. So again, thank you everybody. We're going to get into everything about the food shortages. We're going to get into everything about the digital currency. We're going to get into everything, a lot of information. But before we do anything, we got to start this foundation on where we are. Where are we from and who are we? And these two books we're going to get in today. Again, the 103 Facts about the Black Indian of the Western Hemisphere and Allegory of the Continents, Volume 1. That's going to give you the foundation. That's going to give you facts, 103 facts about the indigenous man of America, the Black Indians, or the Indian we all run around. I got Indian in my blood because we are the Indians. These people are crazy. Like, they're crazy. And, you know, it's going to give you 103 facts about those people. And then we're going to go and give you the images. What in the European churches, what they said the races of men, the American, the African, the Asian, and the European looked like in the 16th century. What they depictions of these different races on each continent, what these people look like. So we're going to give you just not the 103 facts. We're also going to give you an image to go with it. That's what we're going to do today over here on Fundamental Vibes. So we're going to get into all the deeper stuff, but I don't want to make this show too long because we keeping it real 100%. So we're going to go ahead and dive into everything right now, but let's go ahead and get to it. All right, everybody. So I want to start here. Let me go back here. Let's clear the map out. Make sure. All right. So let me get this position right. So the first thing we want to talk about today, we want to start with geography. I know a lot of people. Not some people are good at geography. I'm one of those people. I'm pretty good at geography. Ever since I was a kid, I love maps. But everybody is many spokes on a wheel. We all are different. We are not monolithic. Everybody not good with geography, so we want to start with geography, and that's just knowing where certain places is on Earth. So with that, and this is very relevant to what we're going to be talking about before we dive into the books, because I want to put everything in a proper context for you. You know, I want to put everything in a proper, so it's easier for it to flow. You know what I'm saying? Because stuff it get deep, but see, we ain't going deep. We going high. You get me? Y'all get that? What the information is giving you higher. We're going higher. We're raising our vibration with this type of information. So, you know, we want to make sure that it's a good flow to it, so you can know. Because again, I want to assume that everybody know that when I'm saying America, I'm not talking about the United States. I'm talking about the continent of America too, at times, you know, and that's a little like we live in a world where it's a lot of trickology. So with the trickology, that's something you know, it's a reason for that they make you think specifically America is the United States, and the United States is a country within America. Like we have the continents on Earth, which you have, let's start with the 4 continents. We have America. And this is America. We have right here starting from Panama all the way up through Canada and Alaska. This is going to be North America. You know, they call it Turtle Island. If you put a turtle over, you got the 2 legs with the turtle, and you got the tail. Then you got the head and everything. So, yeah, this is North America. Then you have South America. We're going to start from about right here. This is our lower Argentina. All the way up here to Venezuela. Until you get back to Panama. Let's just say up to Panama. Colombia. Well, yep, Colombia is in South America. Colombia is a country in South America. Venezuela is a country in South America. Brazil is a country in South America. Peru is a country in South America. Argentina is a country in South America. So America, this is the American continent. Then again, like Mexico is a country in North America. United States is a country in North America. Canada is a country in North America. And anybody who don't know, this is Alaska, which is part of the United States. And those are countries in North America. Just like we have literal countries in the bottom part of North America. Some people will consider Mexico or these countries Central America. So when you hear Central America, they're talking about Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. And they call it Central America because it's between Upper North America and South America. But we're really talking about Mexico is just Lower North America. So it's North America. But then over here, out of North America, and this is real significant when you start to get into the history of our people, because when we get into the history of our people, when Christopher Columbus, the first slave trader ever came into this continent, this man, he landed in what we call right here, I believe, I want to say it was they used to call this island Hispaniola, which is where now they call it the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They call it the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And I believe it was that, unless it was what they call Puerto Rico, but I will bet it was the Dominican Republic and Haiti or Hispaniola. So, the Caribbean islands. So in the Caribbean, we got Jamaica. That's part of America because they just islands. Or these are islands off of America. So we have Jamaica, an island off of America. We have Cuba, an island off of America. We have, again, Haiti, an island off America. Dominican Republic, an island off America. Puerto Rico, which is a part of the United States, which is a United States colony, or they would say the United States province, but it's the United States, part of the United States. So you can go to Puerto Rico freely. Also with the U.S. Virgin Islands, this is part of the United States too. You see how close it is to Puerto Rico. And then you got the British Virgin Islands. Then you got a lot of the little smaller islands: Antigua, Anguilla, Guadalupe, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia. This all now you're getting closer to South America. St. Vincent and Barbados. That's again where Rihanna from. Grenada. You got Trinidad and Tobago. And I think Nicki Minaj from here. And Wyclef John, he from Haiti. So these is all what when you hear the Caribbean, or they may call it the West Indies. When you hear Caribbean or West Indies, West India, they're talking about a part of America, the islands off the American continent. And that's important because when you understand history and you start reconstructing the story, understand this is the mainland and these are the islands that go with the mainland. And these islands will take you all the way down to South America. And this is important because all these people were connected on this one continent prior to 1492 when Christopher Columbus colonized America. We're not even going to play with the word discovered. We in the trenches now with time far as these people are changing the world up, and you never know what day they're going to cut the internet off. So we don't have time to sit up and be like, oh, well, hey, he didn't discover nothing people lived on. People lived here since the beginning of time. They carbon dating pyramids and stuff back hundreds of thousands of years, and the more they dig, the blacker it gets. And we're just gonna start there. So so these are the Caribbean islands. Then, like I said, we got South America. So this is the continent of America, Mexico, the United States. I know people we're going to go through the United States real good because I know sometimes, again, with geography, people don't really know what things at. So we're going to start with the region, my home region, where I'm from, Michigan. This is, they call it the Midwest or the Great Lakes. But we have Michigan in the Midwest. Or Great Lakes, I say Great Lakes. We have Michigan in the Great Lakes area, Ohio in the Great Lakes area, Illinois in the Great Lakes area, Indiana in the Great Lakes area, Wisconsin in the Great Lakes area, Minnesota in the Great Lakes area. Then we already over here, so this would be the Midwest. Don't get me wrong, they call Michigan or the Great Lakes area the Midwest too. So you call that the Midwest, but this is like the central part of the country, the real Midwest. You got North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Midwest. Yep. And I would say that's all pretty much Midwest. Then we're gonna get into the South. And we're gonna start the South in Kentucky, Virginia. Next to Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina. Under South Carolina, we got Georgia. Next to Georgia, we got Alabama. Under Georgia and Alabama, we have Florida. You know, let me see. Is it better with this? Y'all like that one? Well, we ain't doing a live. I'm talking about y'all like that one better? Well, let me know in the comments if y'all like it better. We're going to do the rest of it. No, we're going to keep it like this. Florida. Then next to Alabama and Georgia and Florida, we got Mississippi. Now, remind you, all this sit on the Gulf of Mexico. You see, it would be logical not to think the people of Cuba and the people of Haiti, the people of Jamaica, they didn't communicate with the mainland, which is North America, Cuba. And our people, once we get into books, it's a book, Africans and the Native Americans. You will start learning that the Americans, Indians, were master shipbuilders. So they knew how to get around. And this is historical fact. They were master shipbuilders. We traveled the whole globe. So then we got Louisiana next to Mississippi. We got Arkansas above Louisiana. Next to Louisiana, Arkansas, we got Texas. This all would be considered the South, even though once you get out of Texas, you kind of getting towards the West, because Texas is a huge state, as you can see. We got Oklahoma above that, and you know they would kind of start getting this into the Southwest. But historically, all the eastern part of Texas has always been associated with the South. The agriculture areas of Texas, when you start getting the desert area, you can kind of call that the Southwest. Like when you get over by like El Paso, which is on the border with Mexico, you'll see that, you know, it's a desert climate. You see this picture up here, that's a desert climate and it's still in Texas. Texas is that big, got different areas in it. So from that, then we're gonna go to the West Coast, the Southwest. We're gonna do Southwest. We're gonna start with New Mexico. Next to New Mexico, we have Arizona. Next to Arizona, above Arizona, we have Utah. Next to Utah, we have Colorado. And then next to Utah on this side, we have Nevada. Las Vegas is in. Then we have California. You know, praying for the people of Los Angeles. I might have to do a perspective and objective, my other show about the Los Angeles City Council, how they don't believe we got political power. They said the people in Los Angeles, the Hispanic city council members, you know, they was calling the black kids monkeys and said the blacks is like the Wizard of Oz, that, you know, they ain't really, you know, we gonna bark but no bite. That's what they said about our people in LA, the black community of LA, the LA City Council. And it's a big thing going on with that right now. So yeah, but California. Then above that, we have the Pacific Northwest. So this is Northwest Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and some people put Montana and Wyoming kind of like in the Rocky Mountain states and Idaho, but I say Pacific Northwest, you know. And then last but not least, did I get West Virginia? West Virginia, that's kind of south. I'm sorry, West Virginia. I don't want to forget about y'all. Then over here, we're going to start the East Coast with the Federal District of the United States, the capital so-called, but really it's just connected to two other cities, London and Rome. But we can talk about that another day. But yep, the capital district, the Federal District of the United States, which is Washington, D.C., which is situated between the states of Virginia and Maryland. Virginia and Maryland. So you got Maryland right here. This is the Northeast. Or some people put Maryland in the South too with Virginia. But you got Maryland. You got Pennsylvania. You got New York. New York and Upper New York can go with the Great Lakes as well, because you got Buffalo and Rochester and a couple cities that's on the Great Lakes. And to me, the culture of Buffalo and all that stuff, you got to like Cleveland and stuff, is going to give you more of a vibe of like Cleveland, Detroit and stuff like that, Buffalo and Rochester, more than when you go to New York City. To me, if I'm wrong, y'all, in the comments, New York, check me about it. We cool. But this is New York. You got the New York City that's down here. That's New York City. Then you got Delaware. We don't want to forget about Delaware. Rhode Island over here. This is another little state. Rhode Island right there. Connecticut. Massachusetts. New Hampshire. Maine. All right. So then, and that's pretty much, we got Alaska up here too. And that's far North America. So it ain't with the continental United States. But we got Alaska and we got Hawaii as well. So, yep. So, you know the regions. We got the South over here. We went through the southern states down here. We went through the western states. So, you know, I just want you to know where these states is at. So, when we say things going further, you have a visual representation. Because a lot of things we have to talk about geography. And a lot of things people don't, really just get us through school just to, learn how to read and write. They don't really, some schools teach it, but people forget about it as they go on. Like, you ain't really using it in your life. Like, ain't a calculus whiz. I just always like the history and geography, so I was tapped into that. So some people might be more in tune with math when they leave school or whatever you may use every day. But us going forward in fundamental vibes, we definitely want to get a foundation of what the state said. So we got the Southwest and the West Coast. Then we got the Upper West Coast or the Pacific Northwest. Some of this region called the Rocky Mountains. Then we got the Midwest or the Plain States. Then we got the Great Lakes state, which is also part of the Midwest. Then we got the Eastern Seaboard, Maryland, all that, New York, Pennsylvania, and then again the South. So we just want to know what your country in the United States, if you're watching in the United States, or anybody who's not from the United States, we want you to know what we're talking about when we talk about the United States and the different regions of the United States. All right, so that's the American continent, the breakdown of the American continent. That's America. Then over here we got Africa, which is another very big continent, another very large continent, a beautiful continent. We love Africa. When we get into ideology and start saying we're not from Africa, hey, some people do it in the evil. Why we ain't them dirty Africa? I don't believe that. Africa is one of the most beautiful places with one of the most beautifulest people. And when they taught me from school that I was from Africa, I was proud to be an African. And I understand since they did, it's a lot of Africans are Americans, the American Indians or the Americans. Africans and Americans have always had a strong relationship prior, just in world history, because at one time all this was Pangea and Atlantic Ocean was just a river. If we look on this map right here, like I'm going to show y'all see that? Atlantic Ocean was just a river. And you kind of can see the break in the crust right here if you look at it. But the Atlantic Ocean was just a river at one time. So with that, the Atlantic Ocean being the river, and it was Pangea at one time, all the continents was connected. And we also had a continent over here in the Pacific Ocean. It was a continent over here in the Pacific Ocean. This continent was called Lemuria. And when we get into that, when we get into the origins of the Hebrew people, check out Karimio. I want to give a shout out to him with the book Allegory of the Continents. That's actually where I was introduced with this book at. But if you go on his channel, he go into a lot of the whole history, the Lemurian, everything. And a lot of people talk about Lemuria, but Karimio got a lot of history when it comes to the Hebrew people, our real true identity and everything. So y'all check out Karimio channel. Check out Dan too, Calloway, and Blackbeard Mirage. That's another good one to check out too. So you check out everybody's check out those channels. You want to get into like more indigenous Aboriginal Black Indian history or originy. Again, Aborigine is a detrimental term, or what they call a derogatory term. Aborigine is a derogatory term, so we say Origine, but I'm gonna say Aborigine a lot of times only because in their books they got Aborigine. So I want us just to be sure that we're talking about us, that we're without a doubt the Aborigine of this land. But back to this is Africa, and you see Egypt up here. When we say Egypt a lot of things on Fundamental Vibes, we're always going to talk about. We're going to talk about Egypt a lot. This is what I call Old Egypt, before the Hebrew people left out of Egypt. The Exodus, what you want to call it in history. The Bible is just nothing but a history book telling you the descent of the Hebrew people, being a high world culture people who taught civilization to the world, then going to the worst part of the ghettos of America or the slums of America, and also our brothers and sisters, the Africans too, and them going down into the slums of Africa everywhere. Just the original man, the Naga, going from being on highs to being on low. But that's here for another day. But I want y'all to know that Egypt is right here in Africa. This is the continent of Africa, and if you notice, Egypt is strategically placed. Let's say this is Eurasia up here. If the people from Eurasia, because Eurasia, they break it down into like Europe is one continent, but y'all see this is Europe all over here, Western Eurasia, from Turkey right here. All this is Western Eurasia. Russia, as you can see, Russia stretches all the way from Western Europe all the way, even what they call Asia. So eastern side of Eurasia, they call Asia. So all this Mongolia, China, Japan, they call all this Asia, but it's just Eastern Eurasia. Then you have Europe, which is just Western Eurasia. You get me? So this is one continent. And before, Africa was a part of the continent too, so you could have said it was one whole continent, Afro-Eurasia. But Africa was separated when Egypt built what they call the Suez Canal, where they can get ships right over here to this water and gonna take you into the Red Sea and to the Arabian Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. Basically, it's gonna take you all the way to the Indian Ocean, the Suez Canal. They have to go all the way around. So now Africa is not connected because of man, but Africa used to be connected too. But this is Africa. So a lot of they tell our people we are from West Africa. That's what the school district teach us, but that is very demonic for them to teach you that on purpose. So we got to get into this real deal history. That's demonic. That's the only word that we gonna be able to use to say that that's demonic, to teach somebody that they know they're not from Africa, that you're from Africa. They know you're not from Africa. And it's disrespectful to the African, because that put people like them Africans sold us. That put a very falsehood, and that put enmity between. Even though our people in America love Africa. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people who love Africa. Especially we found out we didn't research Africa. We studied Africa. We went deep into Africa history. We love Africa still to this day. I still love Africa again, but it's still gonna be people, members of our tribe of people. And I call Black America a tribe. We eat the same foods. We do the same. We move the same. We've been the same blood, part of the same cultural traditions, ethnicity, Holocaust, just the same things that happen to we're a tribe of people. Black people in America is the tribe, the largest ethnic group in America. In North America, it really throughout the American continent, without probably outside the Afro-Brazilians. I think it's more black people down there. But we the single ethnic group. We not caught up into a whole bunch of different nationalities. We one nationality within the Black America. We just Black America as of right now. But we're really the tribe. We're really our own tribe. So again, they tell us we from West Africa, but this is the African continent. They say, Africa was colonized by by the Arabs early on. So they are up here, they live up here, but there's a lot of black people live up here in Egypt, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, all these different countries, Sudan. It's a lot of black countries too. But when you get down here, Ethiopia, all the way west to, what is this? Sierra Leone, Liberia, into West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, and all this stuff, all down South Africa. This is what they always say, sub-Saharan Africa, where the Negro lives, the African Negro. So we just went through those the two continents, America, Africa. Then I just explained Eurasia. This is Europe over here. You see United Kingdom. Y'all was just crying about the Queen. They up here. United Kingdom, France, Spain. Spain is very significant, and Portugal. Spain, fundamental vibes, Portugal. Because these are all the colonial nations, the people who went out and enslaved the Americans. So we got to talk about these because it was their Spanish crowns along with the Roman Catholic Church who did this. All the stuff we got going on in the hood, everything who stole our history, hid our history, it's these people. So the Roman Catholic Church over here, but we gonna have this Portugal. Yep, the Portuguese, they colonized Brazil. The Spanish had one of the largest empires. They colonized Mexico, anywhere they speak Spanish. Mexico, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Cuba, Puerto Rico. All these, I think Haiti actually is a French. They speak French now because Spain transferred it over to France, but Haiti actually was a Spanish colony. So at first, Puerto Rico, Spanish. Some down here you got some French names. That means they was colonized by the French. So we need to know where these countries at. They're in Europe. Portugal, Spain, France, Germany did some colonizing in Africa. The Dutch, the Netherlands, they did some colonizing too. They had one of the largest companies because when we get deeper in this, you can start, as we get into more books starting with this, you will start understanding this was all about business. Slavery was big business, and also big business on the slave and the people of the lands that they came out their kingdoms and colonized and started war with and conquered. And these people have been had a history with the Hebrew people dating back to the days of Egypt, but the Americans, because the American and Hebrew, remember, it's synonymous. When you say American, the true Americans are the Hebrew people, us. We are the real Americans, the American Negro, the Indians. We are the true people. The Americans, the Hebrew people have had a relationship with Eurasia. We went to Eurasia a long time ago, taught them everything they know, along with the Africans too. So, that's why Egypt, when the younger races came on earth, Egypt was the perfect place to have it because they couldn't get into all of Africa. They couldn't get into this unless you had to go through Egypt. So this is the perfect place to build a country and to build an empire and build a kingdom. And the Americans who already had sailed from all throughout America and was already in Eurasia, and also the Africans who had sailed from Africa and went India all throughout here, we went throughout the world, and we taught enlightenment when we went throughout the world. We taught people how to read and write. We taught people how to take baths before the Moors even got to Spain. We taught them about the concepts of religion and the concepts, not even concepts of religion, really the true source. A lot of them couldn't understand that. That's why it went down to religion. But yeah, those countries, Portugal, Spain, France, the Dutch, the Netherlands, I think it was Belgium who was cutting them kids' hands off in Africa. They weren't picking enough resources out the earth. They was cutting people hands off. They did it in America too. We're going to get into some books into that history. We already know how they used to lynch us and stuff. But when we get into the Indians, what they did, because they changed the classification of what we was from Indian to black. And that's when a lot of history got lost. Our whole history of all the warfare from them stealing our land and colonizing us is under Indian history. So it's a book called Indian Wars and Captivity. It tell you pretty much all the wars. Now it is wrote, a lot of these books going to be wrote by European people who are supporting the American Indians being colonized. So they are trying to give the worst descriptions of them and lies, actually talking about their savages and blood sacrifices. But in the next breath, they'll say in their books, they're the nicest people, the kindest. They didn't care about the gold. They had the most beautiful cities. So these people were they had an agenda from 1492. They knew they were coming here to conquer because the Pope over here in Rome gave the doctrine of discovery back in 1452 for them to be able to go. Let me pull up this book for y'all because we own it though. So this is gonna be a long episode. I'm gonna give y'all the Uh, the Doctrine of Discovery in the English Colonies. We're gonna go into this book too, y'all, one day. But this is a good book. Like, it really go, like, I was reading into it, like, this really was some legal stuff that the Pope back in 1452 gave the Spanish crown, the Spanish Christian crown, the Portugal crown, the French, all these people and their companies, like the Dutch West Indian Company, the West Indian Company, and the East Indian Company, to go around and enslave and conquer lands. And it was rightful law. Anybody who was not a Christian was going to be a perpetual slave. That means a slave forever to the end of time. To be a slave to the end of time. So there's some deep shit. We really dealing with some deep stuff, y'all. For real. It's our reality, though. We blessed God and gave us a mind and understanding and a heart to get through it. And but yeah, the Pope. Yep, that's reparations. Spain reparations. So when you have a reparation country, you got to know. And they was trading the American Indians. They came with America was first place colonized by the Europeans. Don't get me wrong. Africa was colonized by the Arabs up here at first, and that's why it's a mixture up here. But they didn't get down here to all these countries until the late 1800s. When they telling you all these millions of people came from Africa, no, they did not. And the people they were getting from Africa was the Hebrew people who lived on this side of the earth, who were being enslaved. And the Hebrew people in the Roman Catholic Church, at that time, before the Roman Catholic Church, it was the Roman Empire. The Hebrew people and the Hebrew people and the Roman Empire had been beefing for thousands of years before 1452. That's why they just didn't have the way to get over to America. They couldn't get to America because America is an island. America is a island. America is a island. You see, you have the Atlantic Ocean on one side and the Pacific Ocean. This is a large island. America is an island. And unless you know how to navigate the seas, which the Aborigine or the Origine man or the Negro is the one who know how to do it, or really the name is Naga, is the one who really knew how to navigate the seas, both the Americans and the Africans. So the Americans and the Africans been had a relationship, and this is why they're able to confuse you. This is why they're able to, because Africa was colonized too. So this is how they're able to get you. This is how they're able to have confusion on you with, oh, you're from Africa. Because first of all, Africa was colonized. They colonized Africa too. They're just playing with time frames, and they're making you assume that you are, they're making you assume that you're there just from telling the story, not understanding, well, what war happened in West Africa? Where's all the accounts of the brothers and sisters, grandparents, friends? Because Africa they weren't sitting in huts. Africa was civilized. They had one of the greatest, they had one of the greatest universities on earth in West Africa called Timbuktu. So West Africa was civilized. So where's all the books and everything that's telling you, all the mothers and the stories of all the family members who all these millions of people who were stolen, who can fit into all these countries? Because it's black Brazilians, it's black people. Of course, the United States and Brazil has the largest population of black people in the American continent. The American continent, again, North, South, Central America, and the Caribbean islands. This is the largest. These islands over here, Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba has a large population of black people. Dominican Republic, all these people, these have large populations of black people. Jamaica and Haiti is damn near all black. You would think you went African when you walk down the streets of them if you didn't know. So where's all you took all these people on the slave trade? You took all these people on the slave trade, so it should be accounts, and you can't find these accounts. Where's all the ships? You can't find them. But I'm finna show y'all why. I'm just letting y'all know the geography of this so you can understand. This is West Africa, where they're telling us all we come from. But then they'll get slick and start telling you the Democratic Republic of Congo on the DNA test I be seeing people take, which is for entertainment purposes. They'll get slick. They get real slick on you, you know. But once you start understanding the Hebrew and Egypt connection, this is all gonna make sense that these people over here were once, this continent over here used to be called Lemuria, that was in the Pacific Ocean. Once it was destroyed, that's the Noah's flood, when the continents was destroyed and they was pulled apart. And the Atlantic Ocean, over many thousands of years, went from a river into being what you would look now as an ocean, but it's really still a river, but a large river. But these people from Lemuria went over to the American continent. This had to be 25,000 years ago or more. They went over when the world was destroyed by water the first time, when this continent sunk into the ocean that was all in here. They came over here, and the Lemurians became Americans, or they went by the Mayans. The Mayans spoke the Hebrew language. So the Mayans and the Hebrews are the same people from North, Central, and South America. They then went to Africa, and they built the pyramids in Egypt. That's why you get the mythology, because they could cross the sea. These people, Lemuria was a very enlightened society. Let me add that so it can make sense. It was enlightened. So when it sunk, this story's in the book of Enoch and all that stuff like that. When this society sunk, these people, the Americans or the Hebrew people or the Mayans, Mayan Hebrew is synonymous. These people took the light and they built empires in America. So you got so many pyramids throughout the American continent, which they don't show you about. And you know, these people will get money off anything. They send you to Africa to them pyramids. Why don't you go to the pyramids in Mexico? One of the biggest pyramids is right here in Mexico in the Americas. One of the biggest pyramids is in Cahokia, right here in America. One of the oldest monuments in the world is at Poverty Point, somewhere down here in Louisiana. Why they're not sending you to tourism and promoting tourism there? Because they don't want you to get any ideas, because they know all this stuff is ours, and it's black people on these things, or Negroid people. The American Negro is all on these things. Every continent has a Negro. So you got the American Negro, again, the African Negro. You also have Negro, the Asian, Eurasian Negroes, because Negroes used to live all throughout Eurasia. But in today's time, we'll say this is where the other races of people live, or you'll say the younger races of people live today, or the Europeans and the Asians, or who are phenotypically today European and Asians, the Mongoloid, what we'll say, and the Caucasian. Let's put it like that. The Caucasian live in all these countries and all throughout here. And then it's the mixture of people who are the real Semites, because they are everybody. They're semi-Negroid, Mongoloid, and they're semi-Caucasian. They live in this Middle Eastern part, which at one time this was all Negro too, all these people. But through warfare, a lot of people fled over to America and to Africa. And at one time, all these empires were built by black people, but through the younger races, or the Mongoloid and the Caucasian and warfare, they live there now, and it is what it is. But a lot of these tombs and structures and all this throughout Eurasia is of black people, because the Hebrew people and also the Africans lived here. So that's Eurasia. That's the A. So when I say the Asian Negro, I'm talking about throughout here. We got in the Philippines, we got Negroes who live here. And also in Australia, the Australian Negro. So it's Australian Negro, and outside of Australia, you got the Pacific Islands, all throughout here. New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Papua. Indonesia colonized these, another group of Asians. They got these in there. And one of them, they doing very, very much horrible, horrific things to the Indonesian people. And then Australia, you got the Australian Negro. America don't even show you Australian Negro. You're going to go find it on your own, because they colonized them. Like English. They speak English because the England colonized them. You want to know who you was colonized by? What language do you speak? That's easy. The English colonized these people. And down here in Tasmania, remember the Tasmanian devil? They was talking about black people again, making fun at you on TV. The Tasmanian devil. this was actually a genocide of Negro people. Look this up. There was actually a genocide of Negro people. They wiped out the indigenous people of this, which is part of Australia. This territory or island state of Australia, they wiped the people out when they colonized it. So the Tasmanian devil, and they laugh in your face because they know you don't know the history. So yep. So we got the Australian Negro, the Australian Pacific Islands. The people here look like us. The New Zealand. Some people say these people are Shemitic. You got the Australian Negro. You got the African Negro. This is Africa. Or this is Africa, Madagascar, or this is Africa. And you got the American Negro, North, South, Central America. Then you got Eurasian. Again, remember I told you it's Asians, it's black people who live all throughout here. So you got the Asiatic Negro too, you know, or the Eurasian Negro. But due to genocide and a lot of cultural wars and a lot of people fleeing, a lot of the people who lived in this Middle East area who was Negro, they fled to America because at this time, these Caucasian and Mongoloids didn't know how to navigate the seas. And they didn't have the maps to get around the sea. So they couldn't get off the earth. So America was always living in peace. And Australia was living in peace. And the Hebrew people was over here trying to help the Africans to live in peace. You get it? Okay. So we just had to get in geography like that real quick. So I hope that gave y'all the better thing. So next. We're going to speed it up. And we're going to get into the definition of Aboriginal. The definition of Aboriginal is the first or original primitive Aboriginal. Let's start over with that. Let me drink some water. I'm going to take my time. Aboriginal. First original primitive. Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. The Aboriginal tribes of America. And this is from Webster's 1828 dictionary. Aboriginal, an original or primitive inhabitant. So, in all their books, you're going to see the word Aboriginal. A lot of things they're going to say Aboriginal. Now, the Australian Negroes, or they call them Australian Aborigines. The Aborigine people actually think that is a derogatory term. And as I think about it, I always thought like that sounds funny because if my blood is abnormal, this is the trickology these people play. This is the trickology they play. If ab is abnormal, that means not the original. But the definition in English is going to tell you an original. So you see the games they play. So I like to say the origine, the American origine, the Australian origine, the African origine. Because that's really what it is, because they still playing games. But for the sake of teaching today, and for the sake of, that's what they write in their books, sometimes we interchange it with Aborigine or Aboriginal. But understand that Aboriginal is really the original. Aboriginal is really the original. So again, we're going to read the definition. Aboriginal. First original primitive. Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. So the first inhabitants of America will be the Aboriginal people. American. Now, I'm sorry. Let me see. Aboriginal. An original or primitive inhabitant. The first settlers in the country are called Aboriginals, as Celts in Europe and Indians in America. The first settlers in the country are called Aboriginals, as Celts in Europe, or Celts in Europe, and Indians in America. So now let's go here. Indian is really just a play off indigenous. So when the Spanish was the first ones to America, so the Spanish word for is indigena. And you say it really fast, and it goes into Indian. Indian come from the Spanish word indigena. So the word is really indigenous. So
indigenous.
when you saying Indian, you're really referring to just a status, indigenous status. And the definition of indigenous is originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, a native. The definition of indigenous is originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, a native. And let's see what's the definition of Indian. Indian, a member of the indigenous people of North, Central, and South America, especially those of North America. So, again, and South America, they're gonna, because they used to call the people in South America Indians. They changed the history as it goes. So that's why this is important too, because in certain states right now, they're trying to say black people were immigrants, or just they trying to change the history of from even what they taught us in school. They change it as it go to fit their narrative. So it's important to understand that indigenous, again, Indian is indigenous. Indian and indigenous is the same thing. Indigenous, Indian. We just seen that definition. Indian and indigenous. So the Aboriginals are the first settlers in the country are called Aboriginals at Celts in Europe, and Indians or indigenous in American. So we're talking about the indigenous people. Now, we talking about, they say like the indigenous of American. So let's look at Webster 1828 definition of America or American. So Webster's different 1828 definition of American or Amorican, the Incas, Amorican, American. The definition of American is a native of America, originally applied to the Aborigines or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Again, American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. Let's go back. A native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginal or copper-colored races, keep that one, found here by the Europeans. Remember Europe? This is Europe. They left out the definition of imperialism is a nation leaving their nation and going to expand their territory, usually by military force. So European imperialism, Europeans left and they found these copper-colored people. That's significant. What they say with this definition, the copper-colored races or the copper-colored people found here by Europeans. We know we speak English, so we know this happened in history. England is in Europe. Found here by Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So now, basically, the Europeans, the indigenous copper-colored people are not being called. You see, said, but now, so these copper-colored people are not being called Americans anymore. Now, American is applied to the descendants of the European or the Caucasian or white people. So they'll just say they're American and they'll call us Black America when we're the Americans. This when you start getting into birthright, like this is some deep stuff going on, like what we got going on here. So we are Americans, the copper-colored races. So remember that, copper-colored races. We're going to read this definition one more time. We're going to get to the next one. American, a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. This is the color of copper. Y'all see, copper is a different shades of brown, from really dark brown to lighter brown. Dark brown, you damn near look black. You have to ask yourself, is that black? To lighter brown. Copper-colored races is the different variations of brown. Again, this is a color palette of brown. You see this one right down here? That almost look black, but it's a dark shade of brown. Then we have very, very light shades of brown. These are the color palette of copper. Look it up for yourself, the color, because that's so you can know the copper-colored races. So again, this is another guide of brown or copper. You see, it start off with copper, so that's the tone of copper. But copper actually has different, or a lot of different tones, obviously. But this is the different shades of brown. So when they're talking about these copper-colored races, these how these people look, copper-colored. Now, So we know now that the Aboriginal American was the copper colored races, or the Aboriginals were copper colored. The early inhabitants, or the primitive inhabitants, the first settlers, the Indians, were copper colored from their 1828 definition. They were copper colored. So let's see, what do Scott Beeson Senator Scott Beeson, this is an Alabama senator, a senator from Alabama, and he is on PBS, on some I don't want to say PBS, but he's on a broadcast apologizing for calling black people Aboriginals. Why are you on here apologizing for calling black people Aboriginals? So we want to hear what he has to say, Senator Scott Beeson, and why he's apologizing. Let's check it out.
When I was reading to prepare for this interview, I was quite surprised to see you use the word Aborigines, talking about African Americans.
You know, I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked publicly about that. And my purpose here today is to say that I'm very sorry, and I apologize to anyone whose feelings were hurt by my comment. I've made very, very clear I don't know where that comment comes from.
From your subconscious.
You see, he apologizing because he called the black community in Alabama, I want to say it was in Montgomery, Alabama, he called them by mistake Aboriginals. So they probably, the people, the elite, the Alabama elite, his constituents, because they know these people have been in politics generationally, they know this. They probably say, you better go fix that shit right now. So he apologizing with, at this time, most black people wouldn't even caught on to it. But see, they slip up and say the truth. So, and that's why the news reported like, well, it came from your subconscious. So let's go back again and play it from the beginning.
When I was reading to prepare for this interview, I was quite surprised to see you use the word Aborigines, talking about African Americans.
I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked publicly about that. And my purpose here today is to say that I'm very sorry, and I apologize to anyone whose feelings were hurt by my comment. I've made very, very clear I don't know where that comment comes from.
From your subconscious.
I guess. It's not even a normal thing anyone would say, even if you meant something in a negative fashion. I don't know if you would pull that out. But for me personally...
from your subconscious.
I guess. It's not even a normal thing anyone would say, even if you meant something in a negative fashion. I don't know if you would pull that out. But for me personally, you can't just close down camp and stop trying to do the things that you think are right just because somebody, you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition. You still got to continue to fight on and do what's best for the state in the long run. Personally,
he apologizing to them, but he said you got to do what's right. Listen how they talking codes because they don't think people be paying attention. Because you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition. They hiding our history, y'all. And they know it. They'll look you dead. And I went and seen where this man was at today. He was on a podcast, not a podcast, a news show in Montgomery. It probably was about a year or 2 years ago. And I think he's still a politician and stuff. And he's sitting next to the blacks. I think he's a Democrat, I believe. He's sitting there like everything hunky-dory. And you see this? You may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition. So they made him go apologize. He's telling the news reporter, we can't just shut up shop because you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition. Listen to this stuff, man.
Bit of ammunition. You still got to continue to close down camp and stop trying to do the things that you think are right. Just because somebody, you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition, you still got to continue to fight on and do what's best for the state in the long run. Personally, you can't just close down camp and stop trying to do the things that you think are right. Just because somebody, you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition, you still got to continue to fight on and do what's best for the state in the long run. And frankly, it's going to give me the opportunity to talk about things that I may never been able to talk about before.
You mean the bill?
Or the bill, or talk about race relations issues, things like that. I have a freedom that a lot of people don't have because of that.
Because you used the word Aborigine.
Because I've been through the fire, and I can talk to people, I can relate to people, I can let them know what kind of person I am, and we can talk about things that sometimes have been a little bit taboo.
So because it allowed you to reach audiences you might not otherwise have reached, do you not regret saying it?
I think it gives me some opportunities. I went and spoke to a group in the city of Birmingham. It was a city councilwoman's community meeting, probably 95% African American, and because of things that I regret, offhand remark I should not have made.
Using the word Aborigine.
Right, offhand remark I should not have made.
Which you don't want to say.
Yeah, I know better.
Yeah, he said he know better. His ass probably got in trouble. They probably almost ended his. Oh, look at these people. Who are those? I mean, peace and blessings to him.
When I was reading
But
this interview,
he probably almost lost everything. So they got him on TV apologizing for using. He called us Aborigines. Then notice he said he went to a city council meeting, which was 95% African American, after he used that phrase already to African American audience to make it right. So you see how the mind games they play, because he fucked up and he dropped something he wasn't supposed to drop. Like he made it, because so they obviously in their circles, when they by themselves, they call it, they know we're the Origine, or what they call the Aborigine. They know we're the Aboriginal people of this land. So when you see a liquor store on every corner, understand why. Because they on your land, and this our land. And we start understanding not just our land. Our land was the Hebrew Empire, and they know this. They know this. This has been passed on to them generational secret circles, secret societies. The politicians, like, they know what they playing with, and they know they have strategically miseducated us some of the most demonic stuff you ever can do, and then told us, "Oh, you from Africa." That's messed up. So a lot of things going on, even with this battle with Ye, and a lot of stuff that's going on. We're talking about this Hebrew stuff, this we are Jews and all this stuff. The stuff is real. It's real. So people think you crazy. It's crazy to crazy people, because we've been miseducated and deceived. But those who God have put on your heart, light on your heart to find it, once you see it, it's just the journey. And we'll be taken care of. We're going to be good, though. So understand that, though. He know it. That's why he called us Aboriginal. They made his ass get on TV and apologize. Now, remember, we going back to copper colored. American. So we already got the senator calling black people who Aborigines. And we know the Aboriginal Americans were the copper colored races found here by the European. Copper colored. Copper, different shades of brown, copper colored. The young princesses, copper colored. They probably grown now, but I found these old posters. I was like, copper colored. They showed a variation of our people, copper colored. They showed a variation. Copper colored. Copper colored. This is a real good one. From that copper colored. From that dark brown. Copper colored. The copper colored people. Copper colored. Copper colored. Copper colored. Copper colored. Copper colored. Copper colored people. Copper colored. You see? The copper, these the men. Copper colored. American. A native of America originally applied to the Aboriginals or copper colored races found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. So now it's another people calling them American, but the real Americans are the copper colored people. Copper colored. Copper colored. Different color variations of brown. Copper colored. Copper colored. Different variations of brown. Copper colored. Copper colored. Copper colored. You even got the lighter. In America, United States specifically, the United States, even during colonial times, people in this shade, let's say these people could be, let's say they could have two black parents. They could have both of their parents could be this color. They could have very dark parents. You don't know that. So I don't want to assume that, but let's say if these brothers, let's say one of their parents was white or Hispanic, it wouldn't even matter. United States was so racist, it was the one black rule. Or you going under the caste system black. You're labeled black. If you a Negro, you labeled black. Because the Negroes was the indigenous people. Like they've been changing our title over years. So, yep, but copper colored. Different variations of brown. So, that's what I wanted to get into. I wanted to lay that foundation. We understand before we get into the book that America, where America is at. We went through all the American states. We went through North America, South America, Africa, Eurasia, all the European countries, Portugal, Spain, France, United Kingdom, or Great Britain. United Kingdom and Great Britain and England is all the same thing. What is different? Divisions of it, but England is the United Kingdom or Great Britain back in the day. All that Eurasia, this is a continent, Eurasia. Then we got Australia and the Pacific Islands over here. America, remember, America is an island. You got the Atlantic Ocean on one side, the Pacific Ocean on the other side. On the other side of the Pacific, we have Asia, Japan, China, Australia. Remember, the Americans were not master seafarers. They could get over here, from America to over here, and from America to over there. So we learned that. We understand Aboriginal, the first original people of a country or land, as in the Indians of America. They were the Aboriginals. When we look up Americans saying the Aboriginals were copper-colored races and copper-colored people. We see the color of copper. We got the color of copper. The color of copper. The different colors of copper and the different colors of brown. Brown and copper is the same thing. You get it? The brown colored people or the copper colored people. We heard Senator Scott Beeson, call African Americans by mistake. They made him get on and apologize. He almost lost his. He fucked up. They made him get on TV and apologize to the African American community who happen to be copper colored. Y'all get that? They happen to be copper colored. He had to get on TV and apologize because he made a mistake and called them Aboriginal. He said, we can't shut up. We can't just stop shop because we give them a little bit of ammunition. He said, we can't shut up shop. We give them a little bit of ammunition. Ammunition from calling us Aboriginal. See, he was so scared. That probably went over people's head, but they made him come apologize. Because he was so scared. We are the Aboriginal people, the Indians. Indians and Aboriginal, the same thing. Remember, so we went through that. And then we saw some posters just to remind ourselves that we are copper-colored people. That we are the copper-colored people. 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 We are